Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fashion Files podcast with me, your host, Jelena. So, we are officially on to the second episode of season 2 and of 2021. And today we're going to be discussing the Fendi Baguette Bag, which some actually say was the first ever it bag or one of the first ever it bags. So, let's get right into it. Before we get to discussing the bag, though, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a look back at the history of Fendi, and I think it's important to take a look back before we get too into the bag so that we can see how the bag has really changed Fendi as a brand and how it really did become one of the first it bags. So, Fendi was actually founded as a family business in Rome in 1925 by Adele and Eduardo Fendi. They originally sold fur and leather goods, and they had a small shop in Rome. Then in 1946, the company was taken over by Adele and Eduardo's 5 daughters, Anna, Paula, Franca, Alda, and Carla. These 5 sisters actually kept the business open, and they made a lot of massive decisions for the brand. Their biggest was hiring Karl Lagerfeld in 1965 to design the ready-to-wear collections. When I think of Fendi, one of the first things that come to my mind is Karl Lagerfeld. I think that's with Chanel too, obviously, but Karl really did play a huge role in Fendi's ready-to-wear collection. So Karl actually went on to design every ready-to-wear collection for the brands when he was hired in 1965 until his death in 2019. And he really revolutionized the brand in many ways, but I think he's most remembered during his time at Fendi by the double F logo that he designed for the brand. This logo actually stands for Fun Furs, FF, since the brand originally started selling furs. So it's a fun nod back to the brand's roots. As Karl was taking over ready-to-wear, one of the original 5 daughters, Anna, her daughter Sylvia Venturini Fendi, so one of the granddaughters of Adele and Eduardo Fendi. Sylvia was actually designing accessories, and she started doing so in 1994. And then moving up to more present Fendi, Kim Jones is actually the artistic director of couture, ready-to-wear, and women's fur, and he joined the Fendi group in September of 2020, so just really recently. And then Fendi also became a part of the LVMH group in 1999. So then getting more into the bag, the Baguette Bag was originally created in 1997 by Sylvia Venturini Fendi, who I just mentioned a minute ago, who was Anna's daughter. And since then, it's really become a timeless piece for the brand. Sylvia actually told Harper's Bazaar that her original inspiration for the bag came from her grandmother's collection of beaded bags from the 1920s and 30s. It's really slim in shape, very long, has a rectangular shape, and it was actually named the Baguette Bag because, seen as it was a small shoulder bag, it was made to sit right under the arm, the same way that the French would carry a baguette while walking around the streets. It differed a lot from other popular bags at the time because the baguette was small in size and more casual. It wasn't a tote bag, it was just a small shoulder bag. And also, you might remember the bag from an iconic moment in Sex and the City when Carrie said, "It's not a bag, it's a baguette." That episode was actually in 2000, so just 3 years after the bag came out. And fun fact, Fendi was originally the first luxury house to lend an item to the costume designer for the show, who was Patricia Fields. So, very interesting fact, and that episode of Sex and the City really brought Fendi into the light more in the Baguette Bag, and it was a really great moment for the brand and the bag. So the bag truly did become an it bag in the first few years. Obviously, having it on the show helped, and there were more than 100,000 sold in the first year alone, and more than 1 million in the first 20 years. So it actually just hit 21 years old because we are in 2020 and it came out in 1999. So very fun fact that they have sold more than a million, which is crazy. Also, I think something really interesting to note is that the bag came out in 1997, and then 2 years later, LVMH acquired the brand. So it is interesting to take a look at it from a business standpoint, what the bag did for the brand, and if the bag really maybe made LVMH take a deeper look at the brand because it was becoming such an it bag. I think it definitely played a role in that. I cannot say for sure, but I think definitely considering how many they were selling. What makes the Baguette Bag so great is really its iconic shape. So, just like we talked about with the Lady Dior bag, The shape is so iconic of the baguette that Fendi has actually been able to make a lot of changes and embellishments, materials, etc. to the bag, and it still holds its iconic shape. So over the years, the bag has taken many different looks with sequins, embellishments, embroidery, chains, literally anything you could ever imagine. A really interesting one was the DIY your own baguette bag kit. This was actually a kit that Fendi created and sold for around $1,400. In it gave you a woven baguette and then a lot of materials you could personalize the bag with. If you're very artistic, this was probably a great opportunity for you, but I feel like I would maybe be a little worried to be personalizing it, and like, I don't know, I think it would just worry me a little bit to do it myself. And then in 2019, Fendi launched the men's baguette. And moving forward into today, the bag comes in a variety of sizes, such as the micro and the nano, and recently as a little charm size as well. So, as we have seen trends of smaller and smaller bags, Fendi has really kept the baguette in trend, making it smaller, smaller, and smaller, such as the micro, nano, and then the charm. They've really tried to keep the bag in trend. And the bag has also really had its fair share of collaborations with brands and celebrities. This year, maybe the most interesting handbag collaboration ever. Fendi partnered with Maison Francis Kurkdjian, which is actually my favorite perfumer, and another LVMH brand. If you are wondering my favorite fragrance from them, it is Baccarat Rouge 540. It is the best fragrance. It just smells absolutely divine. But Fendi actually partnered with Maison Francis Kurkdjian, which is another LVMH brand. So it was just sort of an easy partnership since they're under LVMH. It was a good, easy way for those two brands to connect. And they partnered to create the first ever fragrance infused bag. So the scent that the bag is infused with is called Fendi Frenesia. And the inside of the bag is made with a patented technique that guarantees that the bag will actually smell for up to 3 years. The bag also comes with 5 milliliters of the fragrance to spray on the matching card, which they say can extend the lifespan of the fragrance. And this collaboration was a nano version of the bag, and it came in yellow and pink. It was actually really recent that this bag came out, so if you're interested in it, you might still be able to find it. I think it's really interesting to think about a scented bag. And I mean, because I know when you get like a perfume sample at a department store or something, you stick it in your bag. I've done that before. Or just like I'll spray like my Baccarat Rouge on something, stick it in my bag. But to actually have the bag infused with fragrance, I think it's really interesting conceptually. So I'm interested to see where this goes after this. And then actually still looking about the same time frame, in fall of 2020, Fendi launched a project called Hand in Hand. This was a project that worked with Italian craftsmen in 20 regions of Italy. So the 20 regions in Italy worked in partnership with Fendi workshops, and it created a bag for each of the regions, so 20 bags in total with local artisans there. And it really was supposed to pay homage back to the brand's Italian roots and heritage. And since, I mean, everywhere has had a really rough time with the pandemic, but I feel like Italy was hit really hard. I think it was also a good moment this fall as Italy is sort of trying to rebuild and everywhere is sort of trying to rebuild. But for a brand like Fendi to go back to their roots and the craftsmanship, I think it was a really good idea and really interesting project. If you're looking to purchase a baguette for yourself today, there are literally tons of them, any size and any material you can ever imagine on Fendi's website. Also, if you are into vintage, there are some amazing vintage ones on a lot of my favorite sites, like the Real eBay. I'll try and link some down below, just some interesting, fun ones that I have my eye on. I do not own a Fendi Baguette bag currently, but I'm very intrigued by one. And it's one of those bags that's sort of on my list, but I feel like once I see it, I'll know. Like, I haven't found the perfect combination yet on it. So we will see. And that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to keep in touch with the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you get your podcast, Anchor. We are also on Instagram at the Fashion Files Podcast and on Twitter at the Fashion Files Pod. So stay connected with us. And yeah, that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.